Variety Pack. Food and friends with Canada's best. From east to west, there and back. Eat North Variety Pack. 'Cause variety's the spice of life.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Eat North Variety Pack. This is our 11th episode. We're going to skip the jovials today and jump right into some interesting conversation. So like always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host Mairlyn Smith and panelists Carmen, Cheng, Deepi, Harish. So let's chat. I know it's been quite a powerful past 2 weeks for everyone around the world. So how are you all feeling about what's happening?
It's been challenging. I think that, we're coming out of the COVID pandemic, and a lot of the emotions and challenges that have been associated with that. And now with the anti-racism and Black Lives Matter movement that we're seeing, there's some hope. But I also think that you're starting to see a lot more division that's happening in our society as well, which has been challenging.
I absolutely agree. And earlier this week, obviously, we saw the controversy with Bon Appetit. So, Carmen, I know you're an avid fan of theirs, or was anyway. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think on Monday, my social media and all the comments really just blew up, and people were sending me the situation at Bon Appetit. And I actually think the situation at Bon Appetit, it sounds like there were some things that are happening over the weekend. Like the photo was, there was a photo of past editor-in-chief Adam Rappaport from 2004 that surfaced that was culturally insensitive, and it sounds like it was making its way around, on the weekends. But then on Monday, within the span of hours, you started to hear stories from staff just around the systemic racism that was built into this culture, and a lack of fair pay practices for people of color who are on staff. And it was very disappointing because Bon Appetit is a food media brand that I personally have loved, and we subscribe to their magazines, and I watched all their YouTube videos, and to have heard the pain from a lot of their staff, current staff and also ex-staff, was really hurtful. And I know, Dan, you and I had talked a little bit about that, but I'm curious to find out what Deepi, your thoughts are, or Mairlyn.
Yeah, Carmen, you actually wrote that great opinion piece on the situation. You'd mentioned that we're accountable for sharing stories that are representative of all the diverse people. And the fact that these diverse voices weren't acknowledged, this gives you a glimpse into like the values of Bon Appetit, and it also shows what they don't value. I mean, this actually reminds me of I wrote this piece for Huffington Post a billion years ago, and it talked about how turmeric lattes were a thing of Indian culture. I mean, they've been around for centuries. I was drinking them as a kid when I was sick. And then along comes Goop in 2008, and Gwyneth Paltrow branded it as something new and, a new discovery. And we need to acknowledge the fact that there's history behind these things. It's not just turmeric. I mean, goji berries from China, everything. But there's history that comes with these food items, and there's stories there. And we need to acknowledge the stories, respect those stories, tell them. Actually, it's funny because I'm also writing a piece that talks about Margaret Atwood's masterclass, and she wrote this brilliant quote that says something around the point of every story is made up of building blocks from stories that were told before it, and if our job as writers is to get familiar with those stories and put our spin on it. So, it's all about just recognizing those histories and talking about them.
Yeah, I mean, I love this discussion because I think there's so much we could unpack, and we could do a full episode on it. I am so passionate about, and I love what you say about acknowledging and recognizing the history and the origin of certain foods and the culture that comes behind it. Because I do think cultural appropriation is a thing in the food industry. I think it's a thing in food media, and I think that some of these stories are starting to surface and really get some light. Mairlyn?
And when you talk about what happened in Bon Appetit, I mean, it's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we're blaming him right now because we found out. But, 100%. Look at all the other dark, dirty secrets that have been kept under because people were afraid to lose their jobs. Fear actually prohibits you in lots of cases not to speak up. I know I'm in the food world, but I'm also from the comedy world. And in Second City, the artistic director has resigned. And now we have a new artistic director who's going forward. His name is Anthony LeBlanc, and he's going forward. He put out an email to all of the people that were alumnus or alumni from Second City, and said, please tell me your grievances. And they did an open letter on Twitter today, and they just are apologizing for the racism that took place in my comedy world. And so it is everywhere. And so, and it is up to us to be the change and to stand up. And I think what I am the most hopeful about, because last week I canceled my Facebook, I canceled all my stuff too, because I didn't know how to process the grief that I felt. And so, yeah, we need to stand up, and I am hopeful. But, there's a cartoon I saw today, and it was, they were on a plateau, and the guy is out of breath, and he goes, "Oh no, honey, we've just started." And it was on, anti-racism and making change. And so we're just on this part, right? We're baby steps, and we have got a long way to go. But I'm very hopeful that because there are so many more voices engaged, that we can make a huge difference.
I do think that the Bon Appetit situation did make a lot more people pay attention in food media. No, you can't ignore the anti-racism movement on social media, period. It's everywhere. But I think to have it be more focused on food media was something that was needed. And unfortunately, it had to be focused on Bon Appetit and pointing out their systemic, I always mix those two up, but systemic racism at Bon Appetit in the editorial staff. And I think because of that, now we're all looking at things in a different light and trying to showcase diversity. Because I know for myself too, I look back at my writing, and I've seen this over and over in the past week, but why have I been to basically every Vietnamese restaurant in Calgary, but only a handful of Afro-Caribbean? Why has my view of international cuisine become so narrow-minded in some ways? So I think it's really sobering, I think, what happened on Monday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gobsmacked most of and we know me. I can talk about anything, and I've had no words for a really long time. It's taking me a long time to process this. So yes, we have to be the change. So, and with that, with that in acting, they call it your motivation. And so if our motivation is to be the change, then we can be the change. So let's all be motivated to do that.
Yeah, it was always my dream company to work for. Dan, I believe you as well.
Yes.
Too. And now I'm thinking maybe it's a good thing, and I'm glad I didn't work there, and now change is going to come, and maybe it'll become better because of this.
Or even if you worked there, perhaps you would have had one of those negative experiences, and you could be part of this movement. Anyway, you never know. But yeah, I agree with you. Bon Appetit is definitely put on this pedestal, right? And we look at it as not the be-all end-all of food media, but it's a very powerful publication and YouTube channel, and it's something that a lot of people love. And just to see that crumble on Monday so quickly, I think it's just a good reminder that we can all do better and diversify and help amplify diversity through our voices, through social media and writing and whatever we have access to.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, Dan. I think part of the reason why Bon Appetit's story is, for me, was so disappointing is because I think on the surface, we've seen progress that they've made in bringing on people of color on staff, having them on video, showcasing different dishes. But when you pull that apart, and the thing that really resonated for me is like tokenism is not inclusion.
Yeah.
Because just because you have folks that are people of color on staff, but if you pull it apart and you listen to these stories about, the photographer who's Asian, he's like, how come I'm not photographing cuisine from African restaurants? Or how come I'm not photographing cuisine from like other ethnicities? And to be shot down, that really speaks to those values that are entrenched into an organization. And I think the greater conversation is it's built into our systems and it's built into our cultures, and to dismantle that is very overwhelming. I mean, we're hearing a lot about the justice system, but something that we've known for decades, and how do you even go about making the change for that? And that is a very overwhelming conversation.
Absolutely. And Carmen, you and I have talked about this. We've been part of a variety of restaurant award panels, and sometimes when you sit down at these meetings, you realize just how little a lot of people do dine out, or they only place their focus on the buzzworthy hot new places, but they know nothing about any sort of international cuisine. And I hope that this situation this week has really made a lot of people in our industry want to try harder. Not to say there's not people that don't try really hard. I think there's a lot of great examples of that across Canada. But I do think in general we can be better as a Canadian food media industry.
Absolutely.
And Mairlyn, I know, so in Toronto, in Calgary, everything to do with the anti-racism movements, there's obviously a lot of large rallies that have been happening and whatnot. Have you seen any companies in Toronto really stepping up and supporting these movements, whether financially or otherwise?
Well, that's what I brought up Second City for. So that was my prime example of how they went from nobody talking it at all to to the artistic director resigning, to them appointing a new interim artistic director, to the emails, to and so this wave of change, and then to make an announcement on social media about what they discovered and what their commitment is. And so I know you guys, I have a food world background, but I'm also have my comedy, so that's where I came from, and that's the one that was most impactful to me, because Second City is responsible for almost everybody ever going to Saturday Night Live. And I mean, the whole comedy world, it's Los Angeles, Chicago, and Toronto. So, it's a very big, small circle, but it's a very influential circle. And so I'm like, kudos to you guys, because, like I said, it's the dirty, dirty secret that no one's talked about. And thank God somebody finally is. And so it's not just the food world, and it's, and other companies, but that was the one that made me go, good. That's a good step forward. So,
And how about you, Deepi? Have you seen any companies really step up and champion the anti-racism movement, or help champion?
Well, not just companies, but as a community. I'm a Sikh woman in our community. We're actually helping provide free meals for the protesters out there. Before it was the pandemic, but now it's just protesters out there. And we provide langar. Langar is a free meal that we serve in the gurdwaras, which is our temples. But now our people are actually just going out and giving these meals out to people that are protesting. So
amazing.
More so the community I've noticed, as opposed to like local. Yeah.
Oh, that's really, really great to see. And I know in Carmen in Calgary, we've seen a few businesses giving back in different ways. There's a motorcycle shop that opened up a coffee bar recently that they're actually donating all their sales for the entire summer to Black-run organizations and causes across Canada. So my understanding is that they're going to give, every time they make $1,000, they're going to donate that to a specific cause in different parts of Canada. I think that it's really amazing to see people really put money where their mouth is, right? Not every individual is able to do that, but it's nice to see businesses doing things like that now.
For sure. And even Lockstock in Edmonton is doing the same thing, donating their coffee sales from a few days this week to causes as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see. So this is a little bit off topic, but before we started the live stream today, I was in my pantry looking for something to eat, and I saw this gigantic bag of flour. And, we are still sort of mid-pandemic or heading into post-pandemic, but I bought this huge bag of flour, panicking that I would never be able to buy certain things again at the beginning of the pandemic. So before we bring on our first guest, I just want to ask you, have you looked at anything that you've done in the pandemic and just thought, that's kind of foolish that I did that, or that I thought the world was ending? Because, in my mind, at one point, it could have been the apocalypse,
Well, okay, I'll jump in here. I was actually pretty cool about it, because I really believe that the Canadian food system would be fine, and we would, have all the food out. But when I went to buy my dried beans, which I buy all the time, they were decimated, and I felt like I needed to do a public service announcement, because I knew the people that bought them did not have a clue how to cook them.
Right.
And so, and I just for me, wasting food is a sin. And so I have, on a couple of my Facebook and my social platforms, I've gone, this is how you cook a black bean, people. This is how you cook a chickpea. Don't let them dry out to heck in your cupboard. So I didn't do that, but I know a lot of people that did, and I'm sad, because that flour will go bad unless you use it. Yeah. And so
I promise I'll use it. I was just looking at it, thinking how foolish I was before. But Deepi, do you have anything that you did during the pandemic?
I was just gonna say, I never took it seriously in the beginning. When we heard about the lockdown, it was approaching, I just didn't take it seriously. I was like, whatever. But then when I went to the grocery stores and I saw all the shelves were empty, and I was like, maybe I need to start, not hoarding, but
stocking
really taking this, stocking up a bit.
Yeah. And Carmen?
I don't know if I feel foolish. I think we talked about this on another episode. For me, that panic set in when I realized that Spam was sold out across all grocery stores, and that there's a shortage on Spam, the canned meat. And so we did go to that day 3 different stores, and I did buy I think 4 cans of Spam, but we also used it all, because Spam is a big thing in our household. So I don't know if I feel foolish, more like the moment of realization of this is bigger than I thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, speaking of... Oh, sorry, Mary?
No, it's okay. No, I was just going to say that, as a professional home economist, I have a pantry that people, envy. And so it's still pretty good. So if anybody needs anything, just give me a call.
Okay. Do you ship to Alberta or no?
I got stuff. Yeah.
All right. So I think access to food is a great segue into our first guest. We have Toronto chef and activist Joshna Maharaj. She is the author of a brand new book called Take Back the Tray, which is just discussing the problems with institutional food systems and how they can be better. So we'll bring Joshna on here to say hello. Hello, Joshna.
Hello, nice to see all of you.
Yes. Thank you for being on the show today. Sorry, we ran a little bit late with our discussions earlier, but I think that what you're doing is really important as well. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about how this book came to be?
Yeah, certainly. So I am a chef by trade, but intentionally, right from the beginning, I've not been interested in restaurant chefing. So community food security has really been my thing, working at the grassroots level. And I got a chance after that. A hospital was interested. A hospital here in Scarborough was interested. And I got a chance to really jump in, and they were ready to rework the patient menu and think about local food, which for me was a dream come true. So I had that chance. I moved on after that to another hospital here in Toronto. And then I had an amazing opportunity to overhaul campus food services here at Ryerson University. So 3 mega projects. I've learned a ton about what making this change entails. And more importantly, that it's completely worth it, right? But then after that, I was sort of like, okay, well, now what? Right? Because getting government to start paying attention to this, in this climate,
or anything,
what am I going to do here? But as I would move around the world, I spent a lot of time in Europe, talking, and parts of the U.S. talking about this, and the need for something to put in people's hands really emerged, right? People were like, we need you here, come here and do this. And I realized by talking to enough people that there are some objective lessons that I've learned, right? And I've really gone into the belly of the beast, and there's no reason to do this again, please, right? So what I imagine is that what is in here is like steps A through C for how to start considering and making this change. And then you figure out how it's going to work for the rest of your community. But really, this is just about like the need to share this and also to tell people that, yes, it is messy and complicated and you have to take a lot of deep breaths. But what we were able to achieve by actually pushing through and making change is extraordinary and something that I'm so proud of. And really, the thing that we all need a little taste of right now.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how broken is Canada's institutional food systems?
I would say we're probably at about a 3 or 4.
Okay, so
yeah,
I was going to say a 1. So good. Okay, you're giving me hope, Josh.
I'm giving the basic caloric provision, so 2 points, right? Yeah. But it's really, and to me, the biggest issue here. The thing that I like to scream about is that the biggest problem with institutional food is not actually the food, but the attitude that thinks that food is okay to serve. Right. That's the piece we need to
fundamental issue.
Cut out and remove. Right. What's on the plates is just a manifestation of this culture and attitude. And really, when you think about it, right, all of you are connected to this world somehow. When you go to a restaurant, when you're at a food truck, or you go to somebody's home, the meal that they give you is a reflection of their attitude towards food and hospitality, right? And so that leads me into the next piece, which is the chef inside of me. When I was in the hospitals and I saw these meals, the 5-alarm red flag to me was the damaging message around hospitality, right? Because what that horrible tray of garbage food is telling people, hospital patients,
and it is horrible, it's terrible,
right? Is that they are not worth any more effort than this.
Yeah.
Right. And if you imagine the average patient stay in Ontario is 4 to 6 days at 3 meals a day, one patient stay, we are telling them 12 times that they are not worth any more effort than this. And from a hospitality perspective, it is a thunderous alarm as far as I'm concerned. But I realized that it's only these eyes that saw that, right? Because I'm a chef, because hospitality is my guiding priority. And that's really the basis of my argument for why chefs have to be led into this world.
Absolutely. And Deepi, have you ever had any interactions with institutional food? Have you been to the hospital and had to endure, for lack of a better descriptor, a diet plan there?
Well, I have Crohn's, and when I was diagnosed, I was at the hospital for a while, but At that point, I think I wasn't aware of what was causing the Crohn's, so I couldn't really acknowledge whether these foods are terrible or whether they're okay. And now looking back, yes, they weren't providing the proper meals. And it's like, but I didn't even know who to talk to. I didn't know how to change this. I didn't know who, like, you would think that the practitioners and the nurses and the medical doctors there would know better, that they'd be serving the patients better food and know what they should be serving, but that isn't the case.
Oh.
Well, it comes down to lots of ways. It comes down to cash, and I went on your website the other day, and Josh, I was really impressed with your story about, you know, how you made this fabulous turkey dinner with local ingredients, and it ended up only costing 33 cents more per patient than the stuff that they had. And like when you said, you know, you're serving it with love, and you're serving it with, you know, so what is 33 cents? Are we not worth that extra 33 cents? I mean, so, yeah,
that's exactly it, Mairlyn. That's exactly it. One of the hardest challenges that I've had is that regardless of however I slice this, my verdict is that investment is needed, right? Bottom line is we are not spending enough money. And so that makes a lot of people just like turn deaf and run away, right? Because they want it all to be better, but they don't want to spend any more money on it. Right? Let's pause for a moment and talk about the fact that the cost of a hospital bed in an Ontario hospital is $842 a night. Yet we spend like $8 a day for food ingredients for 3 meals for one patient, right? So the values that are so evident in that is really where a lot of my objection lives, right? It's not okay. We definitely can do so much better. And what that lunch with wonderful Rod in February taught me was that for a little investment, I can give you an exponentially better experience, right? So don't just, when we just address this from a money perspective, when all we want is the cheapest food possible, we've got what we paid for, right? But if we right? Please go ahead.
No, do you think part of the problem is that that actual chefs are not in charge of these programs as well? They aren't, someone in charge doesn't care about food. They just care about the system and like serving A, B, C, D done for the day.
Yes, 100%. This like microaggression narrowing of budgets has really eliminated the cooking skill from this situation completely, right? The job descriptions of these folks are dietary aid, right? The institution itself is really acknowledging that no cooking is happening anywhere. Right? It is very clear. In fact, we in Ontario here, we've seen ads because they're looking for staff for long-term care homes, right? This big expose about how horrible those conditions are. So they're looking. The ad suggests that they want you to cook, right? But when you click on the link and follow it, the job description is dietary helper, right? And so I really think that the fact that cooks and the craft of cooking, right? Because that skill is also not maintained.
Absolutely.
Right? I really tried to work to rebuild all of that. So you're right on with that, yes.
And Mairlyn, obviously you advocate for healthy eating for people, or having a well-balanced diet. So can you speak to the issues that you've had parents in the hospital, and that's probably been not ideal to watch them have to consume subpar food.
Yeah, and it's to your point, Joshna, is that you gave this delicious, healthy meal, and it was made with fabulous, lovely ingredients, and you will not only emotionally feel better because of the hospitality and the care that was given in that meal, but physically, the food is not, there is an old adage, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. It isn't really, but it certainly supports it. We can't all eat our way to health, but we can certainly support our immune system much better if we eat a healthy meal. So, it seems so counterintuitive that, you're in a hospital or you're in some place that you're supposed to be getting better. And in fact, we're not giving you anything that's going to support that. So, when my mom and dad, they were, they did have hospital experiences, and I would take food to them, and it would be like, chicken soup, come on, homemade chicken soup. And
this is it, right? Yeah. When I saw this tray of garbage processed food, I would say, I'm like, we'd be better off just giving them 250 mils of chicken broth and an apple. Right? Than this parade of packaged nonsense in terms of what's actually going to be good for their bodies, right? And this is really where we see that attitude shift that's required and that culture shift, right? We spend too much time putting out fires that we don't ever think about what does that a patient needs dark leafy greens after chemotherapy to start filtering all of those toxins out, right? And what do kids need to have in their tummies so that they can learn properly? Or, what do university students need so that they can maximize the, you know what I mean? The effort and the finance, all of that,
yes.
right? Somehow,
what you're speaking about. Sorry, Joshna. Sorry.
Not at all.
No, so what you bring up is the science of eating. And so, so you're actually presenting a food for that environment. And so, what an amazing skill set to have, but what an exciting and creative adventure to be a part of. But I really do agree with you 1,000%. It's always going to come down to money. And so unless you get some outside support, that is going to, like $8 to $800. I mean, what? So, and sadly, it comes down to money, and that makes me sad about a lot of things. So
yeah. It really is. But I mean, look, we're at this crazy moment in time where I think we are seeing the truth of the emptiness of an exclusively financial priority around things like this. Right? We are really, the underbelly of all of this is really revealing itself.
Yes.
Because we are in a place where we need that hospitality. Right? I need more than just the basic calories on a thing, right? And our experience with food has got to be more than that, right? The one piece that has really boosted my argument from 2011, which is when I started this work, is that the wastefulness of this industrial food system has now become a much bigger issue.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Previously, it was like, oh yeah, and it's also a really wasteful thing. Whereas now, I feel like that priority really needs to bump much closer to the top, because to imagine that we are all investing in this incredibly wasteful system, right? When 40% of the stuff that goes on those hospital trays just takes a long road back to landfill, right? And landfill, because of infection control, nothing can be sorted. And that to me is just a ridiculous, right? Simultaneously, as you have academics at the University of Guelph every year issuing a paper telling us that hospital patients are chronically malnourished populations, right? That's what makes me want to burn it all down. Right?
So as an average Canadian, what can an average Canadian do to help propel that movement, the movement that you're spearheading?
I think the one really important lever that isn't used enough is the patient satisfaction score. Right? Because I think one of the problems is that they give it to patients at the wrong time. They give it to you right when you're discharged. And I think you're more inclined to be like, whatever it takes to get me out of here. Fine. They need to give it to you on like day 2 or day 3.
When you're opening the Jello, right? That's when they give it to you?
This is what I'm saying. When you lift that sweaty dome for like the 4th time and you realize it's not getting any better than that, that's when the satisfaction. Right? And really use the lever. Right? I've heard hospital administrators say that the scores hover around average or just below average. And for them, it's cool. Right? They're cool with the like 64, 65, score. So
sounds like me in high school,
That's
joking.
You need to make the ball.
But I'm going to show your book cover again here. It looks quite striking. I'm just going to ask you, what is it like to launch a book during a pandemic? Obviously, that was not your goal, but here we are. So how has it been?
Totally. It has been, I got a lot of worried messages from people, right? And like the pretty dress is still on the hanger because no parties, right? It all is sort of on pause, which has been hard because so much has led to the release of this book. But I will honestly tell you that what I may have lost in the press and the celebration in the moment, I am gaining in this incredible zeitgeist, right? It is one of my real concerns with this was I know that once I have somebody in, I got the, I can lay down the arguments and deal with it. But one of my questions was, how am I going to get people to care about institutional food enough to come close so that I can talk to them? And beautifully, everybody's head has really been pointed in the direction of the resilience of our public institutions and our food systems. And I almost can't believe it. I'll be honest. Right? The readiness that I see out there is when you consider that I wrote this manuscript a year ago, right? This thing was done. It's not like I had any plan about this. So to a certain degree, I've realized that my job is to take a few deep breaths and hang on for the ride. Right? And just see where this is going to go, because it's pretty incredible.
And now, if anything, we're truly in a moment of change right now, too. So I hope that institutional food system changes are a part of that as well.
So do I. The opportunity is there. And I'm delighted that I can be like, here you go.
Yes.
Here's
buy the book.
List. On it. Let's do this.
I'll show the cover one more time. Everyone buy that book.
You can order it on Indigo. Joshna, you can order it on Indigo, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of wonderful indie bookstores in this country that are also stocking them. We're trying to give love to our indie bookstores.
Awesome.
Yes, but are they open? Like, they're not even open right now.
There's a lot of these wonderful folks are doing either their deliver or curbside pickup, or they're making it work. Which
and in Western Canada, most of them are back open now. So if your book finds its way out west, Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, most stores would be reopened now. So
and I've heard my friends in New Brunswick said that it's there too.
There we go. Awesome.
So
East Coast.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Well,
before you go,
yes.
My parting remark is that when my dad was in the hospital, I remember when you said the sweaty gray tray. So he opened the sweaty lid, and he had white chicken, white potatoes, and white cauliflower, and then this awful white hideous soup. And I just remember in grade 8, I had this assignment that you had to make a colorful dinner, and so it was like I learned that when I was 12. You know, like. You eat with your eyes first, and this was like, it looked like it was like paste. Anyway, so yeah.
We need change.
So thank you for going to change the world. I'm with you. When you have your launch party, please invite me.
Yes.
I will come bells on and cheer loudly.
It'll be delightful to be able to get close enough to clunk a glass. That'll be a dream.
That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Joshna, so much for chatting with us today. I really appreciate your insight, and congratulations on the new book too. I can't wait to see you celebrate it in person. Maybe I'll even fly out to Toronto.
That'll be so great. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks
nice to see you. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Great conversation with Joshna. She's so passionate about that. I've met her numerous times over the years, and she really is inspiring. So spearheading a movement like that, I think, is important, and she's just, again, reminded us of that.
Yeah. I heard her speak once, and she blew my mind, and I was like, I am now your, like, follower. I'm going to, I'm just going to, like, whatever you say is in... Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah. I'm impressed, and I really, really want to go to that party. So
yeah, absolutely. We're having a lot of good conversations today, so we're running a bit overtime because of that. So I think we're going to bring on our next guest, Justin Tisdall, who is the owner of Juke Fried Chicken and Beetbox in Vancouver. And Mairlyn will give you a little coffee break here, so we'll see you in a bit and bring on Justin. Hey, Justin.
Hi.
Hi, Justin.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hi, guys. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah. Every day is a different day right now.
Absolutely.
But getting by.
Although the West Coast, you're quite lucky over there because your restaurants have been able to be open for over 2 weeks now, right?
We've been open for about 2 weeks. Ours opens tonight, so it's a busy day trying to get everything up to code and just helping people relax when they come in because they're out to enjoy their night now.
No, absolutely. What has the vibe been like in Vancouver in terms of all the anti-racism movements right now, and yourself being a person of color that happens to own 2 restaurants?
Yeah, it's. I think the vibe's been really unifying. There's a lot. Obviously, there's protests kind of every other day going on. There's a ton of support, like this upswell we never saw coming, especially for Black businesses, Black restaurants, but even just for like the BLM movement in general. I think because of COVID, people have had time to pay attention a bit more. So this is sparking them into action.
Absolutely, it's great. I know, Carmen, sorry, do you have a question?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, during the lockdown, did you notice that you were creating any special meals just for delivery or for curbside pickup?
We've been pretty fortunate that part of our restaurants are always takeout heavy, so we've given up about 50% of both of our locations to really focus on takeout when we opened 4 years ago. So we were fortunate we didn't really have to adjust too much. And all of because of the locations we're in, like we're in Chinatown in Vancouver, which is a bit of a lower income area, we make sure our price points are really accessible and affordable for the community around us. So we've actually been one of the fortunate restaurants, A, to be able to operate the whole time, and B, to be able to start giving back to our community as well.
Amazing.
Wow, I can't imagine being a business owner where you're navigating COVID and having to pivot into that takeout and then navigating back into, the reopening and putting all these new processes in place. And then you also have, all this pressure from the Black Lives Movement and the anti-racism, because I do think there's a lot of pressure right now for businesses. I see, a whole lot of you post a black box, you don't post a black box. And I really appreciate on your Instagram when you talked about, you've always wanted to give your partners and your staff that voice. And now you need to really kind of step in and talk about, being a Black partially Black-owned business, there have been challenges, and this is an ongoing support. So I'm wondering, like, what are your thoughts around, examples of systemic or implicit racism in the food industry that you've seen, and what can we do to make more meaningful change?
For me personally, I've never wanted to market myself ever. I've always really been, even though I work the front of house every day, I really want to put the focus on the people who are doing the real work. But then again, I've kind of been Black every day of my life. So it's definitely a real thing that's been out there. Personally, I've been super fortunate to have excellent employers along the way that have helped push me to, become the operator I am, to become the manager I am, hopefully the leader I am. But kind of throughout my whole life, I've always been A, an advocate for Black rights, and B, however you want to say it, like supporting the little guy if you can. So now it's a longer couple of weeks. Like, I've got a lot of friends in Vancouver. Black people are about 1% of the community. So a lot of my white Caucasian friends are wanting to have educational conversations for them, which is great. I've known them for years, like 20 plus years, and it's amazing to have these conversations. It's also, there's a reality to life. Like, I've got 2 kids at home. I've got 2 businesses. We're dealing with COVID. So I'm really happy to listen to friends, ask friend questions, try to help educate where I can. But right now, there's a ton of balls in the air, and all of them are extremely important.
It's a great way to put it. So as a business owner, how do you advocate for diversity through your work? Do you try and have a diverse staff, front of house, back of house?
We always have. Without even a conversation, my business partner and I, we've always been supportive of any, people of color, minorities, LGBTQ. Like, our restaurants have always been open doors for anyone. If you can do the job, we'll hire you. Doesn't matter what you look like, where you're from, who you are. So that's been great as both a company. It's nice that my business partner and I are really on the same page with that. I think it also helps. Both he and I are from different backgrounds, so we bring a lot to the table to kind of fill that whole swimming pool of culture and education. And then in our community, we are in a lower income community. We're in former Black Strathcona. It's one of the largest homeless areas, lower income schools. So we do our best to work with the schools around us, help feed the kids when we can, with like some breakfast programs. Since COVID hit, as I said, we're fortunate to stay open. So every Monday, we do Industry Mondays, and a portion of our sales from 5 to 6 p.m. are going to local charities. Right. The past few weeks, they've been going to Black-supported charities. And, we don't make a lot of money, but it's nice to have the ability to be able to help people where we can.
Absolutely. Being a person of color, owning a business in Vancouver, and quite a recognizable business, I don't know if trendy is the right word, but do you feel like it's on your shoulders a lot more to be more public now because of everything that's happened?
Definitely the past few weeks. Like, if you look at any of our Instagram, our Facebooks, I don't even think I've once put a picture of myself up there. So definitely it's my responsibility to my children, to my community, to be out there a bit more. It's time to speak up when you can. And like I said in my post, it's like, I can breathe, so I will use my voice to speak about what needs to be said.
Absolutely. Deepi, you have a question for Justin?
But to bring it back to be a little more light. So you own a fried chicken and rib joint, but then you also have a plant-based restaurant. Those are 2 ends of the spectrum. Like, what's your experience with having 2 very different types of cuisines? Yeah,
I think, you can look at it as 2 sides of a different coin or 2 sides of the same coin. Both of them are really comfort food based. So we want to give people who are looking for that kind of food all the comforts they can have. And that's been great during COVID when, people are stuck indoors. The other thing is, when we opened Juke, we're not 100% carbon neutral yet, but every step we've made along the way has always been eco-friendly, locally sourced, 100% compostable. Basically, it's just our delivery trucks that make us not 100% compostable yet. So we started food programs, we started waste programs, recycling programs, like in both businesses. So to me, they are very different in terms of the food we serve, but the culture of our business transfers really well to both. We were a little concerned opening a vegetarian restaurant or vegan restaurant owning a fried chicken restaurant. But, you know, as we get older, our diets are changing. We know the world's changing, sustainability is changing. So we as a company, my partner and I, are really focused on what we can do to help leave it a little better place.
And do you find that people that know that you own the vegan restaurant, are they also like, oh my God, he owns a fried chicken joint? Like, are they concerned about, or do you get any of that?
Surprisingly, it's been really positive. They're like, oh my God, he also owns a fried chicken joint.
Let's be honest, most people are flexitarians, I feel like, these days. So I think they'll eat fried chicken and eat a vegan burger. Yeah. Fried vegan delight.
And we're that option.
Yeah.
So you can eat healthy, you can eat fun, you can eat chicken, or you can eat chicken. So we've been really well received. Fortunately, the communities from both sides have really accepted us. We were really concerned about that, so we don't flaunt it at Beetbox. We definitely don't hide what we do for both businesses. But again, it's our core values that I think people are really gravitating to and really respecting.
Well, because I find that in Toronto, there are these hardcore vegans that would be like, are you serious? This guy owns a chicken restaurant. And then I have the ones that are just like, you should be able to, our choice is to be vegan, but, you know, it's not yours. So we respect that. Yeah.
There definitely are in Vancouver as well. And we're open to any feedback we get from those people. We're open to having conversations with them about why we've done this. But I think anytime we've spoken about this, it is that choice of, you know, future sustainability and healthy eating and supporting communities. So all those values, it's tough to argue with that.
Absolutely. Well, Justin, I know you're busy, so we won't keep you any longer, but thank you so much for chatting with us today. You know, at Eat North, we're obviously quite big fans of Juke Fried Chicken and Beetbox, so we're proud of everything you do, and even better now to see you giving back to the community and speaking on behalf of your community as well.
Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, cheers. Thanks, Justin.
Have a good day, guys. Thank you.
Another great conversation. I feel like we're slaying the conversation game today.
Oh, wow. It was great to listen.
Absolutely.
I think he's amazing, very inspiring. Next time I go to Vancouver, I'm going to both. And you know what, Deepi, you brought up a really good point about, you know, different attitudes in different cities. And, you know, in Vancouver, like, I think people are very, you know, very inclusive. So, you know, you eat whatever you want and we'll eat what we ever want. And maybe they mix together and, you know, but there are different, you know, pockets in the world, and I think in Toronto people are really staunch. Like, you know, like I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. I eat very inclusively, but I do eat and make vegan and vegetarian recipes, and people call me out on it. They go, "Oh, I thought you were a vegan," and it's like, yeah, I eat vegan food, but I never said I was. But you know, I'm more of an inclusive eater, and so
and all consumer.
But I don't get called out in the West Coast as much, so I don't know.
I only brought that up because I have those friends. I have the ones that will judge me if, you know, or judge an owner that also owned a chicken joint, and then I have the ones that are, like you said, all very inclusive. So it's interesting. I just wanted to know what the attitude was back there. But
well, I love Juke Fried Chicken. They're very inclusive, especially with the LGBTQ plus community as well. I've been to a drag dinner fried chicken cocktail event there, and so, you know, they definitely do their part in Vancouver. I think it's amazing to see. So, well, we're nearing the end of our show. So I think Carmen and I are going to chat with a Calgary-based singer, Amy Hef, and Mairlyn, you going to sign off for today? Stick around.
Yeah, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful conversation. I think we need to listen and talk and keep this going. And so I'll see you guys all next week. All right.
That sounds great. Everybody. And then Deepi will bring you back after the musical performance. All right.
Sounds good.
All
okay,
right.
Great.
Cheers. Amy Hef.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being on the show. It's really great to have you.
I've been listening. It's a wonderful chat you've been having. It's very inspiring, and thank you guys for doing this too. It's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. And with you, I know we were chatting before we went live, but now that we're headed into Pride season, you being a proud member of the LGBTQ plus community, how has Pride season changed for you? Because normally you would be quite busy with events.
Yeah. Well, this past weekend, I've been getting a lot of the memories popping on Facebook of Edmonton Pride. You know? I've been I performed there 2 years in a row. Not last year, obviously, because they were canceled. They canceled the parade and stuff. So, but the years before I have, and it's a very different summer ahead, I think, with all the Pride going virtually or whatever they're deciding to do. For Calgary Pride, I'm on a business roster. So if they're doing events, they can hire me as an artist to perform for the virtual events or whatever they got going on. So that's kind of new, and one day at a time and seeing what's happening. But yeah, it's definitely a different vibe about it all. But I'm wearing my black, I guess, but I'm usually wearing colorful for this month.
Rainbow at heart, right?
Yeah. I've got socks somewhere, I think, so rainbow socks.
So Amy, I saw you perform at a Blue Jay event, and I think it was the fundraiser for Skipping Stone that I saw you at. But I'm wondering for folks who may not have had exposure to your music, if you could maybe describe it.
For sure. So I've been in music for I guess most of my life. I'm originally a drummer. I moved to Los Angeles in my early 20s to go to music school, and my brother was there, and we started a recording studio, and that's when I really started writing and recording. And I've always spent half the time in LA and half the time out here in Calgary or Alberta mostly. And I'm more of a pop rock kind of sound, I guess. A lot of people say it's like a rock set meets Pink kind of vibe. And then during this whole quarantine time, I've actually been working on a country record. So yeah, it's totally different, but it's exciting because it makes sense for me, and it's still my voice. It's still and the songs are really turning out great. And yeah, I've got stuff on Spotify, Apple Music, all that kind of thing. And it's been a new journey, especially with COVID and stuff. But I've finally been really being able to create and like kind of concentrate on my social media a little bit more and kind of focus what I want to do next a little bit more instead of being scattered a lot, I think. So I'm excited for the next kind of step here, and yeah, the journey continues.
And so your latest single, Find My Way Home, is in support of the Calgary Drop-In Center. So do you want to chat a little bit about that and how the song came to be?
For sure, yeah. They reached out to me last year for a campaign they were doing, and their motto is kindness, and how that they help people find their permanent home or housing, and they're really concentrating on ending chronic homelessness. And so I took it to my brother, and we came up with a kind of a song about finding your way home and how the power of kindness can really transform your life. And sometimes it's all it takes is someone to listen and help you find those resources through kindness. And yeah, I'm really proud of the song, and just did a music video for it. I released it on Monday.
Nice.
Shot it here in Calgary kind of quickly, and yeah, so that's out there too.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll let you take it away with the single, and then we'll come back and say goodbye. So, Amy Hef, Find My Way Home.
Thank you. Sometimes it's hard to see the light right in front of me. It seems I forgot what it's like to be home. Even if you notice me, I'm more than what you see. There's a place where the love you need is the love you get. When every day feels like I'm losing hope, and I find there's no place left to go but here, till I find my way home. Till I find my way home. Kindness is here, till I find my way home. I'm learning from my mistakes. Won't go to that cold, dark place. Nothing grows on frozen ground. How could I? When every day feels like I'm losing hope, and I find there's no place left to go but here, till I find my way home. Till I find my way home. Kindness is here, till I find my way home. I'm losing hope in a fight. There's no place left to go but here till I find my way home.
That was fantastic. Amy Hef, everybody. Amy, you're so infectious. I think if anyone is watching and they're in the Calgary area and you are performing in if we're ever allowed to have live music ever again,
Fingers
crossed, that you should go see Amy Hef, because I feel like your personality really radiates when you're engaging with the crowd and performing. It's just really something magical. So thank you for being on the show. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
So much, Amy.
Great. And happy Pride, and thank you to Deepi and Carmen. And this was another episode of Eat North Variety Pack. We'll be back next Thursday with a brand new set of guests. Thank you for joining us today. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Guys.
Eat North Variety Pack. Food and friends with Canada's best. From east to west, there and back. Eat North Variety Pack. 'Cause variety's the spice of life.